let's talk about circular motion, right? So if I just say this particular term, circular motion, what do you guys understand? What is circular motion? You can see this, but
सर
yes,
गोल घूमना.
बोल रहा हूँ ना, okay, स्कर्ट पहन के, okay, ठीक है. Anyone else?
Sir, because this is in the chapter forces, I would think that this is basically a force that acts on anything that's moving in a circular motion.
Hmm. Okay. Anyone, may if you want to contribute, what is circular motion? What do you get about it? Just give me your thoughts. Okay. Is Maeve speaking? I get Maeve is not responding. Yes, Ruba.
So basically, circular motion is when an object is moving in a circular path, and its motion is like said to be circular motion. And whenever an object is like in circular motion, a force is acting upon it, which is centripetal force.
Hmm. Good. Anyone else? That's pretty accurate. Anyone else? I just want some participation over here. I just don't want idle bodies to be standing, just sitting in front of your laptops or mobiles watching the lecture. Yes, Hamza. What is circular motion?
It's an object moving in an orbit, something like constant orbit है कोई equal distance पे हो जा रहा है.
Hmm. Okay. So if I now show you this, okay, just see this diagram first. Okay, they are trying to, it's competition that is throwing a hammer, right? So they move in a circular motion and just throw it away, right? So this circular motion which they rotate and it produces a certain force, right? So when they leave off the rope, it accelerates, right? So now let's see this. I want you guys to take 1 minute and skim this slide. Just imagine in your head, let's keep this competition and then try to relate how is this linked together with this particular last picture. Yes, can anyone analyze this figure 1.5.18? Okay, so let's start. I believe you have got some ideas कि हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं. So what is circular motion? ठीक है, so let's start with the definition. Okay, so it is the motion of an object around a fixed point. It is the motion of an object around a fixed point in circular orbit. Circular orbit. My spelling mistakes are occurring over here. At a fixed radius, right? At a fixed radius r, right? Imagine that this is your center of rotation. Okay, let's say this is the person standing which is rotating the rope over here, and this is the object which is rotating, right? So this is basically moving in a circular motion, right? So this is the rope over here, and it is moving at a constant radius r, right? This is r, this is radius r, this is radius r. Okay, and this motion produces a certain force that is called centripetal force, right? So what does centripetal means? Centri means okay, towards the center. This entire term means basically towards the center, right? So the force which is acting towards the center of the motion is called centripetal force, right? Imagine this particular motion. So यहाँ पे जो this is, let's say, object B. The object B has a sort of a centripetal force which is keeping the object to move in a circular motion. That is called centripetal. ठीक है. So let's begin. I was just saying कि if you just imagine, let's say if you take a thread and at the end of the thread you basically put a metal bob, right? Just start rotating it in a circular motion, right? You will feel a force on your hand, right? So that is a centripetal force, right? So when you start a circular motion, you will feel a force that is acting on your hand, right? So that is the force that is being applied by the object that is rotating in a circular motion towards the center, right? Let's say if you have a thread which you're rotating around us in a circular motion, so your center is your arm, right? So you feel a force in your hand that is called centripetal force, right? So centri means center and peter means towards, right? So centripetal means it is the force that is acting towards the center of the circular motion, right? Okay. So now there are some important points over here which you need to note. Okay. They are as follows, right? So let's say we are having a string which is whirling around in a horizontal circle. Okay. Let's say you are basically creating a circular motion like this using your arm. So you can see the direction of motion is constantly changing over here, right? You can see if you have draw better, draw basically the velocity over here. So you can see it's constantly changing, right? So you can see if you draw tangents over here. So let's say the object is over here, the velocity vector is going to be here, right? If the object is here, the velocity vector is going to be here, right? And at A, it is along the tangent of A, shortly after it's B, along the tangent of B, and so on. It's just saying it is moving around a circular motion. It crosses point A, point B. Let me name this point C, point C, point D, right? So it basically completes a circular motion in this particular orbit, right? And it is just saying, okay, if you just see, this is the force, centripetal force Fc, this is centripetal force Fc. The direction of motion, that is speed versus force, the angle is always perpendicular, right? This is going to be the force Fc and this is going to be the force Fc, right? You can see at every point the angle is going to be perpendicular, right? It is an important point which you will learn in your A levels कि ये angle की important होता है. Just in your O level, just remember कि the component of your velocity and your force are perpendicular in a circular motion, right? Okay, so now let's move on. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, ठीक है? If you are not asking questions, I am assuming कि आपको समझ आ रहा है. Okay. Yes. Yes, Vardha.
सर थोड़ा सेंट्रीपिटल फोर्स को जो डायग्राम थी उसको वापस समझा सकते हैं.
Okay, I'm just saying कि if you just recall this, just see this diagram, ठीक है? And this is the direction vector of motion, right? कि object up इस direction move कर रहा है. That is कि it has a velocity. It has a, you can say, component of velocity in this direction at point A. It has a component of velocity at point B in this direction. At point C, it is always tangential, right? It is always tangential. Tangent क्या होता है? If you have a curve, so let's say if you want to draw tangent at point C, you draw tangent which basically touches this point C at a single point like this. Okay, so you can see at this point this arrow vector is only touching at a single point, that is point D. So it is always tangential, right? And if you see this particular force, the centripetal force, that is always towards the center. यहाँ पे center क्या है हमारे पास? That is center O. ठीक है? And if you see this force and if you see the direction of speed or motion, they're always perpendicular. They're always perpendicular. Okay, just keep this point in head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. अच्छा मुझे बताएं कि imagine, now let me just say this statement, right? Imagine that you have a thread and you are rotating the object in a circular motion, right? And you are saying कि let's say use the instrument जिसने ना आपके object जो move कर रहा है in a circular motion, you measure the speed and you came to a result, you came to conclusion that your speed was constant, right? Your speed was constant, that was 10 meter per second throughout the motion, right? At every point in a circular motion आपने speed measure करी है, it came out to be constant 10 meter per second. Okay. Can I say this? If my speed is constant, I will also have a constant velocity of 10 meter per second. Is this true or not? If whoever answers this question will get +1 in their upcoming test. I'm just saying कि if I say कि my speed of the object that is moving in a circular motion is constant 10 meter per second. Upon this, can I also say कि my velocity is also constant 10 meter per second of the object? If whoever answers this question will get +1.
क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं आ रहा, एक दफा रिपीट करेगा.
क्वेश्चन ये है कि मैं कह रहा हूं कि जो मेरा ऑब्जेक्ट मूव कर रहा है, लेट मी जस्ट ड्रॉ द डायग्राम फॉर यू गाइस. You want to basically have a visual representation, right? Let me just draw that. Let's say if जो object मेरा move कर रहा है circular motion, ठीक है, like this. This is your center. So let's say the object which is moving around the circle is basically this, right? If I say कि at every point, let's say मैंने यहाँ, this is point A, this is speed V, let's say, this is point B, इस पे आई वाज गेटिंग आल्सो स्पीड v, राइट? एट दिस पॉइंट, दिस इज पॉइंट c, मेरी स्पीड आ रही थी v, ठीक है, एंड एट दिस पॉइंट आल्सो आई वाज गेटिंग स्पीड ऑफ d, ठीक है, v. सो मैं आई एम जस्ट सेइंग कि मेरा जो v का मैग्नीट्यूड है ना, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग कि स्पीड इज कांस्टेंट, राइट? द स्पीड ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट is equals to 10 meter per second throughout the entire motion. So I can say my speed is constant, right? Now, can I say my velocity of object is also constant? That is 10 meter per second. Is it going to be
Yeah.
constant?
Yes.
Okay. Those who say yes, raise your hand. Okay, Hamza is saying yes, sir. Velocity constant रहेगी. Rupa is also saying sir, velocity constant रहेगी. Vardha is also saying velocity constant. What about Mashal, Rayan, and Maeve? नहीं रहेगी. Okay. So who is saying कि नहीं रहेगी? क्यों नहीं रहेगी? Why will the velocity be not constant if you are saying कि Mashal, Rayan, and Maeve, you are saying कि it's not going to be constant? Can anyone answer कि why? Okay, I guess no one is able to answer this. Okay, let me just start. Just imagine, what is speed? Is speed scalar or vector?
Scalar
Speed
quantity.
is a scalar quantity, right? It doesn't depend upon direction, right? If you just say कि it has a constant magnitude of 10 meter per second, yeah, that's okay. That's okay to say. We can say कि speed is constant. What about velocity? Velocity is a vector quantity, right? Which depends upon two things. It depends upon, first of all, the magnitude plus the unit, depends upon magnitude, and also the direction, right? You can see direction are changing over here. The direction are changing, okay? Direction are constantly changing over here, circular motion. So you cannot say कि velocity is constant. You can, therefore, you will say कि velocity in a circular motion is not constant. Does that make sense? Because your direction of velocity is changing throughout the entire motion. It was like this here, it was like this over here, it was like this over here, it was like this over here. So velocity is not constant. However, the magnitude of velocity is constant. The speed can be constant, but direction is changing. That means your velocity is changing. That comes in your MCQ, right? Does that make sense? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. Quickly, I want to move on. Make sense to Mashal, Varda, Ruba, Maeve, Hamza. Good. ठीक है, दिस आर टिपिकल पॉइंट व्हिच पॉप्स इन योर एमसीक्यूज, सो मेक श्योर कि यू नो दिस. सो यहाँ पे लोगों ने यही लिखा हुआ है कि वेलोसिटी हैज बोथ साइज एंड डायरेक्शन, स्पीड हैज ओनली साइज, ठीक है. देयरफॉर you can see कि velocity is speed in a say direction, and if direction changes, so basically velocity changes, right? It's just saying कि why is your speed constant and why is your velocity varying, okay? Just verifying that statement over here. So read it out on your own, and you can, if you have any questions, you can post them on the WhatsApp group. Okay, yeah. So now read these 3 points, okay? It is saying that you will need a larger fc, okay? Let's imagine this is your circular motion, this is point O, and this is your circular motion, right? This is your circular motion and this is your object moving, right? Now we're talking about the magnitude of fc. Okay, I'm just talking about what is the FC magnitude. How will it vary depending upon some test cases, some scenario, right? So the first scenario is this. So you will need a large force if your speed of the wall is increased, right? So let's say if you increase the speed, right, your FC will also increase. So it is stating that your FC is proportional to speed. If your speed increases, your centripetal force will also increase, right? And you will need a larger FC if your radius decreases, right? It is stating this is your radius. So it is stating your force of centripetal force is inversely proportional to radius. So if your radius decreases, you will need a larger force. Okay. Now they are saying okay, how does the force relates with mass? So if you increase the mass, you would have to provide more centripetal force, right? So they are directly proportional to each other, right? Okay. So again, this is the definition of centripetal force. So it is the force that acts towards the center and keeps the body moving in a circular motion. That is called a centripetal force. Okay. And yeah, okay. It is just saying, okay, let's say now this breaks. Okay, let's say now this thing breaks. Let's say the person is rotating the object in a circular motion. What if this particular rope breaks? What happens then?
The
Raise a hand and answer. Yeah. Raise a hand and answer. Yes, Mashal. Mashal wins. Yeah.
So if the stick or the string breaks, the object will move in the direction of the tangent.
Yeah, okay, good. Yes, Vardha.
तो मैं भी यही कहने वाली थी कि
Okay,
उसी डायरेक्शन में बॉल या जो है वो ऑब्जेक्ट जाएगा.
perfect, perfect, perfect. So it is stating this. Let's read this statement, which is pretty important over here. Should the force be greater than the string can bear, the string breaks, right? And the ball flies off with a steady speed in a straight line along the tangent. That is in the direction of travel when the string broke, as the Newton's first law of motion predicts. La la la, ठीक है. It is not outwards. ठीक है. ये is important point है. So let's see this. What is it saying? Imagine this is a circular motion. You can experiment this. You can experiment this with your with a let's say string and a small metal, not a metal ball, any rubber ball, right? Imagine this is your center, right? And this is your ball, right? At this is point A. Let me draw this is point B. This is point C, and this is point E. Okay, and at every point you would know the direction of velocity will be like this. This is B, and this is going to be direction of B. यहाँ पे this is going to be direction of B. यहाँ पे this is going to be direction of B. Right? Let's say the spring broke at this particular point. ठीक है? Now the spring broke here. ठीक है? Let's say you are moving at a very high speed. They basically the string tension was not able to hold the string together, right? So the spring break from here, right? You guys said it would go in this direction. ठीक है? But it would not go in this direction. It would go in this direction. ठीक है? Until and unless a relative force acts on it to change state. ठीक है? Does that make sense? Does that make sense or not? Yeah. So the spring breaks. That's basically the thread breaks here. It will not go outside exactly. It will go in a resultant velocity direction. Right. This is very important over here. If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up, everyone. I lost your track of thumbs ups. Yeah, Mashal, Vardha. It makes sense to Ruba. Okay. What about yeah, Hamza? समझ आ गया? ठीक है, good.